Hi guys! First of all, just a quick note. I'm sorry I've been absent for a while. There wasn't really anything big going on, it's just that I was busy and I also had lighting troubles because I rely on natural lighting, and in winter that's really hard because my room doesn't get a lot of light at all. So my corner back there doesn't really work for winter, so I've relocated to right in front of the window for now. I hope this works. This is a bit of a weird setup. I'm sorry. The actual reason I'm making a video is because I want to talk about Good Omens. I finally read it. It took me a while because I kept reading other books at the same time, and I figured out that that is not really how it works for me, especially not with uni work at the same time. That was too much. Yeah, I read it and loved it. Is the short answer. The long answer is going to be a tiny review. So basically this book takes place in a world where the Bible is correct, I suppose, and all these things like the Antichrist and God and angels and demons exist. Full disclosure, I'm not Christian. I grew up in sort of a Christian environment. I don't know a whole lot like about the specifics and all of that, but that's sort of where I'm coming from, because I do think how much you know about the Bible can determine how many of the sort of nods to the Bible you're gonna understand. To me, if there were any insensitivities, they weren't really noticed because I don't like really mind them, because I grew up with Christianity without being Christian. I always was sort of critical of, you know, what people were saying about the Bible, so this just sort of worked really well for me because of that. So it is entirely possible that someone who, you know, is really Christian might not like this. Just as a fair warning. But yeah, I liked that there were a lot of characters. Lots of them were really funny. A lot of them were really flawed. I really liked the characters and the nuances they had and the sort of different relationships you could see among them. I also really wanted to talk about the writing because it was written by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. I haven't read books by either of them before, and I really enjoyed their collective voice. Their collective writing was really funny. It was so British. You could sort of tell from the wording and the sarcasm. I also really enjoyed the sort of comparisons that were made that were really funny. There were some bits that reminded me of Douglas Adams a lot. I can't really tell how much of that is coincidence, but this is something I noticed. Some elements, again, because it was written in, I believe, the 80s, were a bit dated, but surprisingly also still well placed today. I was actually surprised at how many things didn't feel dated. Also, I mean, we all still know about a lot of the technology, so it wasn't too much of a struggle to understand what was going on if it was talking about like older stuff. I think the entire idea of the book, the entire premise is really unique and really clever. The way they played with it was super enjoyable for me. And I was actually surprised at how profound it was. It definitely had some really quite philosophical discussions in there that I was surprised but definitely not mad at. I really liked reading that. I really enjoy comedy and like funny writing, but if it's mixed with sort of some social commentary or some, you know, like philosophical debates, that is a really good mix for me. This is sort of the end of the spoiler-free bit. A couple things I wanted to just mention that I just noticed. I really liked the discussions, especially about the free will and about the use of superpowers or powers in general. But there were more discussions other than that in there, and again, I just really enjoyed that brought some depth into the whole thing, because I think you can easily make a funny book that's just really surface level and just makes a lot of jokes. It doesn't really have the depth you sometimes look for. I don't know if that makes sense. I found Adam, who is the Antichrist, a bit annoying. Like, he just rubbed me the wrong way, but I think that was on purpose. Again, flawed characters. But yeah, sometimes I wished I saw a bit more of a focus on other characters that were not him, because, I don't know. It's interesting too because he is a child and he maybe doesn't really behave like one, but also he probably doesn't behave any different than like maybe Harry Potter does in the first book. But I don't know if it is the way they're written, maybe because this is not a children's book, and so you know, the child is just written from a different perspective intentionally, or maybe it's because I haven't read middle grade in a while and I haven't had a lot of child protagonists in my reading recently. I don't know. There were also some things with Nude that annoyed me, or just sort of irked me. The way he sort of approached Anathema were just, I don't know, a bit like creepy. Again, flawed characters. Maybe it was just also just from the time it was written in, that I just feel more strongly about it now than maybe someone would have like 30 years ago. It was just a bit like, just a tiny bit, not even creepy, just a bit like, dial it down, my guy. The last two things I wanted to say is, one, I really enjoyed that they mentioned that angels don't have genders and that they essentially just choose the way they want to present. That happened in a book that was written a couple decades ago. I find quite astounding, to be honest. I really didn't expect it, and it was just really good surprise for me. And the last thing I wanted to say is I love the relationship that Crowley and Aziraphale have. No matter sort of the nature of the precise nature of it, it's just delightful. The way they interact, like, it's just the funniest thing. It's so funny, it's so sweet. I don't know if they tried to make it seem like they were dating, or if you can all just argue that it's based on their 6,000 year long relationship that they interact the way they interact. But I don't know. I actually just enjoyed it for what it was, or I try to. I mean, I definitely will, like, at times, but I would say it's a product of its time. Those were basically my thoughts on Good Omens. I hope it sort of came through why I enjoyed it and what I enjoyed precisely. I think all the sort of negative things I mentioned are quite minor to the things that I really enjoyed. Yeah, but I had a wonderful time. And I went on to watch the series, which I also made a video on, will make a video on. There is a video available soon-ish where I'm going to talk about the series. I want to talk about the series as it is, if that's possible, and then also in comparison to the book, sort of what they changed. Not necessarily with, you know, saying what is better and what is worse, because I do think with that sort of thing it's nice to think of it independently as much as possible. But yeah, I'm gonna make a video about that separately, and you're welcome to click up here and watch that next. Other than that, I'm gonna see you soon. Bye!